said no more filters, so she created a filter in a bottle for us, a primer, a foundation, but I want to know, is it actually going to blur and last on my skin? Hey y'all, it's Heather, and I'm super excited because we are back with another 2-day wear test. We're going to be doing this wear test on the new Huda foundation for 2 days, 10-hour wear. I really enjoy a lot of Huda Beauty complexion products, her powder, her concealer. They're some of my holy grails, so when I saw that she was launching an easy blur foundation and a primer to go with it, I was sold. And I actually went in store. I picked this up at my local Sephora because I wanted to test the shades, see if I could get it like spot on, and then came home so we could do wear test. Of course, this is what I have on today, but before we get into the application and the wear test, I want to tell you about these products. This is the Easy Blur Primer. We're gonna wear this one of the days that we test the foundation. I wore this on day 1 so that you could see how it pairs with the foundation. Do you need this primer for the foundation to work, or do they just pair well together? I don't want you to feel like you have to buy both, so I'm gonna be giving you my review on this and the foundation at the end of the video. The Sephora site says this is best for dry, normal, or combination skin. I do have oily skin, so I wanted to use it to see if it will work on my skin type too. It is a silicone-free primer, and it's supposed to blur and control shine. Huda says this smooths textures and preps for makeup, and I know that I really love the Glowish primer. This is their Blur Jam. I love this, so I was looking at what Huda had to say about this primer versus this one because they sounded very similar, and Huda said that this is like the 3rd and 4th generation of this primer. So I really have high hopes for this one because I love this. It was a favorite for me, so we're hoping that this is going to be really good, even though it's not marketed specifically to oily skin like mine. When reviewing makeup, I always like to let you know about my skin. I do have oily skin, and I'm living in a very hot, humid place. The humidity is very high here, so I have not only my oil coming from underneath trying to break apart the makeup, but also the humidity from the outside coming to break it apart this way. Always want to be super thorough and helpful in my reviews so that you can really make the best decision on if you want to purchase a product or not. I'm going to be testing this foundation over 2 days. We're going to be using different primer on the 2nd day, different concealers, different powders, so that we can really see, does this foundation work with everything? I'm going to be doing outside check-ins. I'm going to be using my vlog camera, my iPhone, so that you can see everything. Now we have the Easy Blur foundation. This is supposed to be a blurring foundation, like make you look flawless, like you're using a filter, but in real life. It does have silica to blur the pores. It has niacinamide, which is an ingredient my skin really likes, so I don't mind that being in here. And it's supposed to be a medium coverage that's buildable. There are 29 different shades of this foundation, and I'm using the shade 350G, which is medium to tan skin with golden undertones. I do have an olive undertone to my skin, but when I can't find olive shades in foundation, I do usually go to golden shades, things like that, because my olive is warm leaning. Is this foundation gonna play well with Huda's line, with her concealer, with her new primer, with her powder? But I also want to know, is it going to work with other products in my collection? Because I'm somebody who likes to mix and match and change things up. Anytime something is promising to give me like a filter finish skin, I'm intrigued, and it's medium coverage, which is my personal preference, and I want to know if this is going to last on my oily skin. Now, this is a filter finish foundation according to Huda, but I never use filters on my videos. I do film in the highest quality possible. If you click on your video up top, there should be like a little tool symbol, like a gear or something. You want to make sure that you're watching the video in the highest quality possible, so you can click right there. I know sometimes phones will like default to a lower quality, so I'm gonna be zooming you in nice up close so that you can see everything in my skin, and I want to make sure that you're watching it at the highest quality that I'm filming in. Now that we've talked about all the details of this foundation and this primer, let's get into actually like the wear, the application, to see how it really performs. I'm going to zoom you in so close. Let's jump to me makeup free. You are so close so you can see everything on my face. You can see how all the products are going to apply, and we are going to start with the primer. I'm very excited to try this today. It's the Easy Blur Primer. So I'm going to start with like this much because Huda Beauty, I saw that she mentioned to use like a fingertip for each side of the face and like really work the primer in to get as much blurring as possible. So you can see the texture very similar to the Glowish, and I'll just kind of put here, and I'm gonna just kind of work it into my pores. I do feel like that primer kind of blurred my pores. It worked in well, and it definitely does remind me of the Glow Wish, which I really, really like. Definitely made things look smoother. I can tell a difference, but I'm very excited about this foundation. I swatched several of the shades in store on my hand. I went to a window and looked, kind of walked around the store and looked, and there were no olive undertones that I could see like described as olive on the website. So I thought this would be my closest match, and it looked like it had more of like a golden olivey tone to it. Huda said that you should use this foundation with a brush, and I know they made a brush and launched it with this foundation so you could like buy them together. I have so many brushes that I know, love, and trust, so I did not buy the brush, but we're gonna try it with the brush on one half of our face and we'll use a sponge on the other. She was saying that the water in the sponge probably wasn't gonna work the best with it, and she recommended a brush, but I still like to try it both ways. So I've got my BK Beauty brush, and we're just gonna start with this shade. Maybe I got a too light of a shade, but Huda did say that it was like a flexible foundation, so that several shades should cover several different skin tones. So we will see about that. I think as I blend it in, it's gonna look a little more like right, but in the future, I definitely hope that they will maybe expand and make some olive shades. So I'm just kind of pressing it in with my brush, and we'll see side to side the coverage we get. So here is the foundation. It's looking really beautiful, and I was looking at the ingredients of it because I'm like, it feels like a silicone, but it's like a silicone derivative, so it doesn't have the "own" on the name. So it can, I think Huda says it's like an oil, but it really doesn't feel like an oil. We won't get all into ingredients because I love to Google and look up things and look at different sources and all of that, so I will spare you. But here's what we're looking like with the brush. I actually think the shade looks really, really nice. I think by the time I finish with my concealer and bronzer and a little powder and all, it's gonna be a perfect like flow for me. I always like to, when I'm in store, like put the foundations on my hand, but I feel like the best way to test a shade is on my chest. So I usually try to do that too, like just put a little swatch there so I can see if everything flows up, because my hands and my face are usually lighter than the rest of my body, but I think that's looking really, really nice on the skin. I do want to try it with the sponge over here on this half of my face. I'll also let you know that it feels very lightweight on my skin, and I easily got that medium coverage, which makes me really happy because I want to buy something that is what it says it is, and it says it's medium buildable coverage, and I definitely feel like that's accurate. I do think the brush was working better. Like, I think I got a faster blend with the brush, which may be something to note. I don't think the sponge is blending bad, but I do think over here the foundation looks a little more like soft focus. Okay, here's our side with the sponge, here's our side with the brush. I do think it kind of lays on top of the primer, lays on top of my skincare, and kind of buffed in better with the brush. Over here with the sponge, it feels a little more like it's on top of my skin. I mean, it still looks good, like don't get me wrong, the sponge applied it well, like it still looks good, but I do like the brush side better. So here's what the foundation is looking like. I do feel like I'm getting that kind of airbrush natural finish. I would say this is maybe more like a natural matte satin type of foundation. It looks really beautiful, and it looks very seamless. It covered any of the redness that I had on my face from just, you know, being outside, being in the sun, all of that. Like, it covered my redness, it colored the discoloration I have. You can still see some of my skin peeking through. I was gonna say imperfections, but I'm trying to get out of the habit of even saying like blemishes or imperfections, because like I'm a human being, like I'm not AI, thankfully. So it's just skin, it's not imperfections, because what is perfect? You know, that's a conversation for a different day, and today is not that day. I think it gave me coverage while still letting my skin peek through. How about that? It's a great medium coverage, so I'm excited to be wearing this all day today. I'm gonna go over this side of my face that I used the sponge with. I'm gonna tap over that with a brush to make sure everything's even and looking nice. Before I move on, I do want to give this foundation foundation a couple of minutes to dry down because I always set my face with a powder. I have oily skin. I'm living in a very humid place. It's very hot today, but I want to give the foundation time to set down. That way, those of y'all who don't like to set with powder and you want to know how a foundation feels without a powder on top, I can let you know and just see if anything changes. So I'm going to give it a few minutes before I set. So touching my face, I do feel like this foundation sets down. Like, it doesn't feel sticky tacky. I don't feel like I'm gonna leave fingerprints in my makeup or anything like that. So just letting those of you people who don't set with powder out there know. Now, your oily friend is gonna powder. I'm gonna be reaching for some of my favorite products. I'm gonna use my Huda Beauty Concealer. I love this. I think it's amazing. I have several different shades because I love it that much. I'm gonna set my face and my under eye, my concealer with my Huda Beauty Easy Bake Powder. I know this is part of the like Easy Bake line, this new complexion release she has, and then I will buff in kind of a powder that more matches my skin tone for the rest of my face. Foundation is on and set. Everything's looking nice. Here's where we are going to start the wear test. I want to show you up close how my skin looks. Here is our first check-in at the 3-hour mark. You can see my skin is still looking really, really nice. I do have some oil coming through right around my nose, a little on my chin, and also some on my forehead, but I think it looks like a really nice glow. It doesn't bother me. And then I'm going to take you outside with me. This is around the 6-hour mark. I went for a walk with my family. We took our dog out, and I wanted to get you like some clips of this foundation and everything in the sunlight so that you can see how it looks outside. Definitely have that beautiful like sunlight glow. It's hard to open up my eyes and stare at the camera with the sun in my face, but overall the foundation's looking really, really good. Hi, it is the end of the day, and can you tell I have not touched up my lip product especially? I didn't even realize it looked like this until I turned the camera on. And I'm wondering like why my husband, my child did not say like, hey, you only have lip liner on half of your lips. But I had a great dinner and we've been chilling. We're watching Rings of Power. I'm so happy the season's back. So we watched some of that and I'm ready to take my makeup off, and I don't know how long my lip has looked like this. And the foundation is looking really nice. I mean, my oils are coming through. It's hot today. It's very humid today. You know, we went out walking, we were in the sun, and it's hot. And I have oily skin, so I'm gonna get oily, but I think it's coming through in a really pretty way. I mean, I could definitely blot my face. I definitely could, but I wouldn't. I didn't ever look at myself and just think like, oh my gosh, I need to blot. It looks good to me. I'm like, it's not worth the effort to go blot. I do want to try tomorrow with a mattifying primer, like a more mattifying primer, like an extremely mattifying primer, and see how the foundation does. I do have to get out and do some errands and stuff tomorrow, so we will wear test again, but I wanted to show you like how I'm looking. So I got a little light so you could still see, because you can tell in the window behind me it's slate, like it's fully dark, and I'm ready to take a bath. I'm ready to take my makeup off and get to bed. But look, like this is looking not bad. Like it does not look bad at all. Before we move into day 2, I want to show some quick swatch comparisons to maybe help you determine a shade if you're somewhere in this range. Starting at my wrist, I have an Hourglass 10.5. Then we have the Huda 350G. Next is the Fenty Eavesdrop Stick in the shade 14. And then I have the Say Super Glowy Foundation in the shade 15. Let me know if this is helpful, and I'll continue to do this in the future. Good morning. Well, at least it's morning for me. I woke up super early so I could start this wear test. I'm really excited to be wearing this today. I want to see how long this is gonna last, how this is gonna do, because I'm using my One Size primer today. This is the Oil Sucker Extreme Mattifying Primer, and yesterday I do feel like the Huda primer was really, really nice, and we'll definitely talk about that later on, but I want to try something that's a little more mattifying today. I have to be out and about a lot, and I do think I got a little glowy yesterday. Not terribly glowy, but I just want to see if a mattifying primer will help keep me even more matte. I do want to show you a close-up of what the foundation is looking like just with the primer, although I haven't put on any powder or anything else yet. We're also going to change out the concealer. I'm going to use something different, and of course everything will be linked down below in the description box as for what I'm using, but I wanted to swap out my concealer, my setting powder that I set my concealer and under eye with today, and I also wanted to change out my finishing powder. That way we can really see how this foundation is going to wear and last with different products, because I know many of y'all like me kind of switch up what you're using on the day today. You like to swap things around, or maybe you just have different products than me, so I want to test it with different things. Now that concealer and powder is applied, this is where we will start the wear test. I'm of course going to finish up my makeup. I need to do an eye look, and I'm excited to play with shadows today. Here's a quick 2-hour wear check-in. This is just in the morning sunlight. I think it's looking amazing, but the sun is giving me a glow. Here is my 4-hour check-in. Today in the morning really just kind of got away from me. So I'm going to finish up the rest of my makeup soon, but I've been wearing this foundation 4 hours. It's still looking so nice, right? I'm definitely liking the way it's looking with this one size primer. It's keeping me a little more matte. This is our 6-hour check-in. I did go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup. I know, I haven't had time to like sit down, put on blush, eyeshadow, lip, all of that. So I finally did, and our foundation is still looking really, really nice. I'm looking a little more glowy. I mean, I do have highlighter on, but even right in here, I'm looking a little more glowy, but I don't feel like I'm looking greasy or too oily. I really hope I'm in focus. The fact that I'm doing a wear test kind of slipped my mind. I'm so sorry I didn't give you another outside check-in. I got out and about. I went to a pharmacy. I went and picked up some Chinese food for dinner. We had dinner, and I was editing a little bit, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I should like go ahead and get in the bath, get cozy, wash my face. And thankfully I'm wearing lashes today, because I went to take off my lashes and I'm like, wear test. I would have cried if I forgot to do a final check-in. I really would have. I'm definitely getting glowy with this foundation. I'm not so oily that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gross, I need to blot. Nothing like that. And I'm also not matte. So for me, I'm ready to take this makeup off. But if I were going out right now, like if I were gonna go to dinner or something like that, I could definitely blot, get a little bit of my NYX powder, touch up a little bit, and I could be good to go. I don't think the foundation is bad at all. I think it's really, really nice. It's not a matte foundation, so if you're looking for something that's going to keep you super matte all day, I don't think this is the one, because even with my one size primer, that most mattifying primer, it's not keeping my oils away completely. But for me, somebody who does have extremely oily skin, this is a really good foundation. I like it. I'm excited to keep using it. Like, I definitely like this. I'm gonna keep using it, keep wearing it. I would reach for this a lot. I really like the texture of it. I do think that the primer is really beautiful, and I will keep using the primer too, but I do want to use that primer with different foundations. For me and my oily skin, I'm reaching for a mattifying primer like I did today with this foundation. So if you were concerned that you had to have the primer and the foundation together for them to work, that's definitely not the case. You can just buy one or the other. I do think the primer is very much like the Glow Wish in a jar. It's very much like that. I did look at the ingredients because they're so much alike, and then I like rechecked and played with the textures, and the Huda, well, they're both the Huda. The new one, the one I just bought, does feel a little bit thinner, but I think if you tried the Glow Wish in a jar and you don't like it, skip this one, because they are very similar. If you love the Glow Wish like I do, when you run out, get this new version. You know, like, it's really nice, but it's not something you have to go out and buy right now if you have the Glow Wish already. The foundation, I'm gonna keep using. I like it. Am I like completely matte? No, but this foundation also doesn't claim to be completely matte, so I don't expect that from it. It's not giving me like the long matte wear like the new MAC Studio Fix Plus is that I reviewed. I'll link it in the cards. And it's not giving me the same matte look as the Urban Decay Face Bond, but I like this. I like this. I think this is really, really pretty on the skin. Like I said, I'm definitely glowy, but I don't feel like I look greasy. I just look like I have oily skin, but nice oily skin. You know, I do think it's keeping me a little blurred. Makeup is makeup. Makeup is not a filter on a photo, and I do get the marketing of like, oh, filter effect, because it is gonna blur things, and instantly when I put the foundation on, it just has a really nice texture. It doesn't settle weird. Like even now you can see like around my semile lines, I don't have any weird settling. It looks really nice. It's not breaking apart on my chin. It's not breaking apart on my forehead. It's just looking healthy but glowy. So I think if you're looking for something that has that very like skin-like finish, that's not matte, that's not overly radiant or dewy, that can be influenced by the primers that you pair them with, I think you will like this. I really do. I want to try it with some other primers, but I'm happy that I used like my one size today because I wanted to see how matte I could get it. I'm not regretting my purchase. When Huda comes out with something, I'm always down to try it. If there's ever a new foundation that you want me to try, or anything new really, you see it on Instagram or you see it somewhere else, like leave me a comment here on YouTube, tag me on Instagram. I want to know the releases that y'all are excited about because I love new makeup. I'm always wanting to test and try things. I'm going to pop up some more videos for you so that you can stick around, check out some of my other content, because I'm constantly talking about makeup, y'all, and I would love to chat with you about this product down in the comments.